What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. So today we are having a battle report for the Molbron Daolock stone build that I released the other day. I have joined a Westmarch server using this character. It's called the Forged Concordance, and I'll have all of the information for that linked in the description below if anybody else wants to join me there. It's been around for like a year and a half, and there's like a couple thousand players, so pretty active, really cool downtime systems, and nice little nuances to it. So I definitely recommend it. And I wanted to play this Daolock because I love summoning. And in my Bilbron Bafflestone campaign, my DM banned Summon Greater Demon. So I was really excited to play this one. And I wanted to go with the Earth Genasi because I've been getting a little pushback on having the low AC. And I'm like, if you drive it right, the low AC is not any problem. And I wanted to be able to demonstrate the truth of that philosophy. So we start at second level. Takes about 3 or 4 sessions to level in this system. And I had my very first session last night. So I want to do a battle report for it and let everybody know how the Daolock performed. Now recall this is second level, so we're not summoners yet. We're just agonizing blast, repelling blast, pretty much standard warlocks. But I thought we played it pretty well. So the setup is that we are, in a guild, and we take jobs. There's a job board. So me being new, I went right up to the job board, and we were late, and all the jobs were taken, except for one remaining job for an escort mission of a merchant ship that's leaving from nearby Tears Fall. And I was like, man, Earth Genasi Daolock? Sure, let's guard a boat for our first adventure. Why not? Makes total sense. So I looked around, and there were a few other guys in the guild. So I hooked up with Mervin, who was a Dragonborn Paladin, and Redden, who was a Barbarian, and Elenos, who was a Blade Singer. And we all took about a day's time to travel down to Tears Fall and meet up with this, merchant that wanted us to guard his boat. So we get there and we find him, and he says, yeah, there's been a ton of attacks on these boats, and a lot of them have actually been sunk. So I really need some, strong escorts to make sure this ship makes it to port. And, if you get it there in one piece, there's a little bonus in it for you. So we're like, okay. And we headed out to the boat. And of course, my character being an Earth Genasi and a Daolock is not having so much fun here. I'm actually ex-Navy, so I know you get seasick and the smells are very unique. So my character wasn't really dealing with it too well, but we headed off and it was time to work. So since we were on a guard mission, I basically took a position at the center of the ship, and I started using minor illusion to create like a fortified position. And we sailed for hours, and this was just getting like so tedious, like, kind of working an 8-hour day at your typical grind along job. And eventually we did get attacked. Now the Blade Singer, Elenos, had a familiar, which he had turned into octopus form and placed at the bottom of the boat to act as lookout, which was like a star move. That really, really helped. And eventually we noticed that we were being closed upon by some seahorses. And as they got closer and closer, they were giant seahorses. So according to the familiar, it seemed like they were heading for the bottom of the boat. And again, me being a sailor, I understand it's like holes beneath the waterline that sink a ship. And you don't need many, like one is typically sufficient. So when we heard that they were like attacking the bottom of the boat, everybody else took positions on the surface of the boat. And I was like, no, wait, that's not good. We're not going to have the angles to like, shoot, we got to like be in the water. But I'm not really in a position to give anybody orders. So I was like, okay, I'll jump in the water. And I figured I cast Expeditious Retreat because I figured that would give me a little bit of a maneuverability buff down there because I don't have a swimming speed, and I would have been half speed. And I wanted to be able to have an angle and a line of sight on these creatures if they were attacking the bottom of the boat. And it actually turns out that they didn't this time. They came up closer to the surface and were attacking the hull of the boat beneath the waterline, but close enough to the surface that the guys on the surface were able to actually make attacks against them. So I'm out there floating in the water feeling kind of silly. And my expeditious retreat wasn't helping because these guys had like a 40-foot swim speed or something. So even so, we're like totally out, maneuvering me. And then I got smashed for like 10 damage. And that's more than half of what I have. I only have 19. And so I had to go into panic mode, and I cast a defensive minor illusion of a stone sphere with all these spikes sticking out surrounding me. And that scared off the seahorse, who disengaged and ran away, but I was able to kill it with an Eldritch Blast. So, success. We repelled the first wave of sea creatures, and we were able to, we reviewed our tactics, and we did talk about it like, hey, we're going to have to get in the water, guys, because, if they attack the bottom of the boat, we're not going to be able to do much from the top. And I didn't like this at all because, of course, like my whole idea was like, I'm going to be like in the middle, and when they try and swarm the boat, I'm going to be like repelling, blasting them and knocking them off the boat. And so having to fight underwater was not what I was hoping for, but that did seem to be what the mission parameters called for. So we were able to get a short rest in there, or at least I was able to. Some of the other guys did try to help patch up the boat because the seahorses were able to, create a couple of cracks in it. I didn't have any useful skills, and it was like an intelligence-based thing where my intelligence is 8. So I was like, I'm just going to take a short rest and get some of my hit points back and my spells back. So I managed to complete the short rest, and not too long after that, a second wave of attackers was closing in on the boat, again tipped off by the octopus, and this time it was a bunch of frogmen and puffer fish. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm not familiar with the monster manual, so these probably have like an actual technical name, but I don't know what it is. They were like humanoids with frog faces and stuff, and they were attacking the bottom of the boat, but this time we all jumped in and we were able to engage, and I got surrounded by enemies really quickly. But Sanctuary was a huge star for me. It literally turned away like 5 different attacks, and it actually made a huge difference. And so it was a little bit of a struggle. It was a tough battle, but we were able to turn back the frogmen and the pufferfish, and no further damage was done to the ship. That was great. These guys were pretty fun to fight. They had like these long sticky tongues that created restrainment, and then the puffer fish would like shoot out the slimy stuff and slime you, kind of Ghostbusters style, and that was restrainment too. And pretty cool battle. We managed to prevail, and then we went to the top. And this whole time the captain had been like hiding in the cabin, and the one time he appeared, he seemed like really super sick or whatever. And the player, of course, in me was like, oh, this is definitely not good and is going to be something that's going to come back to haunt us later. But my character is like intelligence 8 and wisdom 10, so he's like, oh man, yeah, being at sea would make anybody look like a freaking zombie, right? So that was kind of at the beginning, but at this point, between after the second battle, the captain came out and was like, oh, so yeah, how are things going? And oh gosh, look at the damage to the boat. And as he was like leaning over the edge, we noticed that he dropped like a rock down there. And we're like, what was that? And then he just went back into his cabin. And so Elenos, our blade singer, sent his octopus familiar down there to grab it, and was able to recover the rock that he had dropped and brought it back. And it turns out that it had runes written on it in Draconic. And luckily, 2 of our party members spoke Draconic. So we were able to read, send more. And we're like, okay, this is clearly some like devious stuff. And in fact, if we look at the big picture, like, why are these things even attacking ships now? Like, what's the end game? Who knows? Obviously somebody's like behind this. And now we've got a captain who looks like death warmed over, and he's dropping rocks. So it's all coming together. Now, so first I was like trying to get the crew on board, because there was like 8 of them, and I didn't want them to think that like, hey, this group of outsiders is coming in to kill our captain, and then they would fight us, and that could get ugly. Innocents could die. So I tried to bring them on board and explain it and be like, look, we're gonna confront the captain. We don't have to get all aggro and kill the guy. I mean, it's just one dude, so we can ask him questions and find out what's going on, because this is like, this rock, it's pretty incriminating, right? And they were like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And they didn't want to go aggro, so we knocked on the door, and we went in and talked to the captain, and it was just such a bad conversation. I mean, right away, he's just started being like, you guys are stupid. And eventually, Marves, our paladin, shot him in the head, and he died. And it turns out that the body of the real captain was hidden in the room. And before he died, he managed to throw another rock overboard and saying, "You'll never stop the Leviathan." And so I freak out, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. Leviathan, I don't know what that is, but that doesn't sound good. And we're at sea, so whatever it is, it's not good. And we warned the crew, and they went down below decks and manned the oars, and we're like, row for your lives, boys! And we tried to, squirt to the port because we were actually fairly close. But the Leviathan did make an appearance, so all of us went back into the water, and this thing was very fast and maneuverable and did a ton of damage. But thankfully, our barbarian Redden was tough and had rage and resistance and managed to tank it really well. And he was supported by Marves and Alienos tossed in a potion of healing. So it was a really good team effort, and we managed to defeat the Leviathan and make it to port. And we succeeded in our mission. Yay. And it was advised to us that we could, go the land route back to our guild hall. And I was like, yes, please. I don't want to get back on that boat. And successful mission. And I was able to cast all of my spells. Expeditious Retreat didn't help in the first battle. I wanted it to give me a maneuverability advantage in the water, and it didn't. They were more maneuverable than me anyway. In the second battle, I went with Sanctuary, and that was a star. I was able to get off a couple of my attacks because I just cast Sanctuary again after that, and I attacked before I cast Sanctuary. And immediately I was like swarmed, but Sanctuary was like keeping me protected, and that made a big difference. And I think that helped keep us, let us keep that battle under control. And then in the final battle against the Leviathan, I honestly didn't help much. I cast Hex, and I connected on my first Eldritch Blast, and I actually did maximum damage on that. So that was good, but that was the last time I hit it. After that, I was missing all the time, and I found myself like next to it at one point because I maneuvered wrong, and then I couldn't get away from it because I didn't want to incur an opportunity attack, and so I ended up attacking it with my dagger a couple of times, and I missed, and it didn't make a difference because even if it was Eldritch Blast, I would have missed. Like, it was consecutive, like 8 rolls below 10. So yeah, luckily the Barbarian and everybody else was doing a lot of damage. Elenos was a real star there because he was casting Frostbite a lot, and that was sticking, and it gave disadvantage to the attack of the Leviathan, which saved the Barbarian Redden a couple of times. So really good teamwork, really brisk pace of play. I thought the DM was great, immersive, great descriptions. I am really enjoying this, the Forged Concordance, TFC. So I will continue to play this character, and I will continue to give you battle reports as to how we're doing, how we're managing the low AC, how we're managing our low-level powers, and eventually we're going to get to level 5 and be summoners, and eventually we're going to be level 7, and Summon Greater Demon will be online, and we are just going to start wrecking things from there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. This has been Bill Bronze and Dragons. I'm your host, Bill Bron Bafflestone. See you next time.